There comes a moment when everything you have desired, everything you have longed for, begins to move toward you. Silently, naturally, and inevitably. You may not see it with your eyes yet, but the feeling, the knowing, has already begun to whisper. You are going to hear back from someone. It may be through a message, a call, a word, or even a passing coincidence that only your spirit will recognize. Do not ignore it, for it is not coincidence. It is confirmation. Life has been arranging itself to bring you into harmony with that which you have imagined. Everything in your world is an echo of your own inner conversation, a reflection of what you have been whispering within yourself in the stillness of your imagination. When you quiet your mind and dwell in the end of what you desire, when you feel the joy of being in union again, when you feel the relief of reconciliation, or the delight of hearing your name spoken once more by the one you love, you set into motion invisible currents that cannot be resisted. They move through people, through time, through circumstance, until the scene you have constructed within becomes the scene you live without. You are not waiting for them to reach out. Your inner world has already reached them. And the moment you accept this as true, the outer world begins to conspire to make it known. You may have felt silence for days, weeks, even months. You may have believed that absence was rejection, that delay was denial. But nothing is ever truly absent when it lives vividly in imagination. If you have seen them in your mind, if you have felt their presence beside you in the quiet hours, then the bridge of incidents is already unfolding. The sign will come. Perhaps subtle, perhaps unexpected, but it will come. A memory might resurface, a song might play, a thought might arise from nowhere that reminds you of them. And when it does, do not dismiss it as mere nostalgia. It is the first ripple of the manifestation. You see, the universe does not shout, it whispers. It does not force, it flows. And the one who has learned to listen, to recognize the faint stirring of the unseen, becomes the master of their fate. When the message arrives, it will not come as proof to convince you. It will come as confirmation of what you have already accepted as real within. That is why the wise do not chase, they allow. They do not beg for signs, they notice them. For the sign always follows belief, never precedes it. If you have been imagining reunion, reconciliation, understanding, then let it be done within you now. See the message already received. Hear the words that would make your heart leap. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the deep peace that follows answered prayer. Live from that state. Because what you accept emotionally, what you assume as already yours, must externalize. It is law. You do not need to know how they will reach out or when they will appear. You only need to know that it is already done. The unseen hand of imagination has written the script long before your senses read it. Perhaps you wake one morning with an unexplainable peace. That is your sign. Perhaps you suddenly feel drawn to check a message or revisit an old memory. That is your sign. Perhaps someone mentions their name in passing. That is your sign. These are not accidents, they are alignments. The outer world rearranges itself to mirror your inner conviction. So do not brush away these moments. When they arise, smile within and say, it is unfolding perfectly. That acknowledgement keeps you in the flow of fulfillment. Many think the world is doing something to them. Few realize that the world is only showing them what they are doing within themselves. Every person, every event, every silence is responding to your inner vibration. When you dwell in longing, you push the desired thing away, for longing implies absence. But when you dwell in fulfillment, you magnetize all that corresponds to it. You cannot hear from someone while believing they are far away. You hear from them when you know, deeply know, that you are already united in consciousness. What the world calls distance, imagination calls illusion. So tonight, go into the silence and see it done. Not as a hope, but as a completed scene. See them smiling as they speak to you. Feel their energy, the tone of their voice, the warmth of their words. Make it so vivid that it becomes more real than the outer world. And then let it go. Release it in trust. Do not check the soil every hour to see if the seed has sprouted. Let the unseen work complete itself. Your only task is to remain faithful to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. For the moment you assume the tone of answered prayer, creation begins its movement toward expression. There may be a temptation to act prematurely, to reach out, to control the sequence. But when you act from desperation, you announce to the universe that you do not believe it is done. True power acts from knowing, not from fear. When it is done within, outer action becomes effortless and inspired. You will know exactly when to speak, when to remain silent, and when to move. You will find yourself saying the right words without rehearsing them. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time. That is the natural flow of the fulfilled state. Do not worry if days go by and nothing seems to change. The silence between desire and manifestation is not emptiness, it is gestation. Just as the seed must rest in the soil before breaking through the surface, your assumption must rest in consciousness before taking form. During this time, the world may even appear to move in the opposite direction. Don't be deceived. When the tide recedes, it is not leaving, it is gathering strength to return. So when circumstances seem contrary, rejoice. That too is a sign that the unseen is rearranging itself. The old must dissolve before the new can appear. You are not waiting for a person. You are aligning with a state. The person, the message, the call, the reconciliation are merely symbols of your inner transformation. You have change within. Therefore, the outer world must change to match. When you begin to live in the end, to think from it instead of toward it, everything necessary for its realization comes to you with effortless ease. What was once distant becomes near. What was silent begins to speak. What seemed lost reveals itself as always having been yours. You may remember moments where you had this knowing before, where something told you quietly that something was about to happen, and then it did. That same inner voice speaks again now, but it requires your faith, your stillness, your attention. Don't rush to make sense of every detail. Don't search for signs as if they are outside of you. Recognize them as reflections of your belief. When you think, I wonder if that means something, it always does. Every moment of awareness is a mirror of your assumption. So assume wisely and watch how the smallest whispers become undeniable evidence. It does not matter what has happened in the past. The past has no power except what you give it in the present. The moment you revise your inner state, you revise your past as well. Because consciousness is not bound by time. You can, right now, rewrite every scene that seemed painful. You can replace rejection with acceptance, silence with love, distance with closeness. Feel it until it feels natural, until you no longer have to try to believe it. You simply know it. When that inner knowing becomes effortless, that's when the outer world must mirror it. And when that message finally comes, when you hear your name, when you see their words appear, when you feel that vibration of reunion, you will not be surprised. You will smile because you knew you had already received it within. The external moment will be only the echo of what you had accepted long ago. That is the true secret. Outer events follow inner acceptance. You do not manifest by wanting, you manifest by knowing. The feeling of already having is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, so continue to live in the end. Continue to thank life for the message already received, the reunion already complete, the love already restored. Do not waver between hope and doubt. Hope implies uncertainty. Faith knows. You do not have to see the message to know it is sent. You do not have to touch the evidence to know it is real. You only need to feel it in imagination as though it were true. And imagination will not fail you. The unseen currents are already carrying your desire into form, the one you are thinking of. They feel it too. Consciousness is one. What you assume of them, they unconsciously assume of themselves. When you see them as loving, receptive, open, they begin to play that part. But if you see them as distant or unfeeling, you continue to bind them to that role. So lift them in your imagination. See them as they truly are, a reflection of your love, not your fear. Send them the vibration of understanding, forgiveness, harmony. The moment you do, you shift the entire play. The actor on the stage must respond to the script you have written within, and as you go about your days, keep the inner conversation alive. Speak with them in imagination as though they are already with you. Tell them you are grateful. Hear their laughter, their warmth. These imaginal acts are not fantasy. They are creation. The outer world will eventually join the rhythm of your inner dialogue. One day soon, when your phone lights up or your name appears on their screen, you will realize it was never about making it happen. It was always about believing it already had. You are going to hear back from someone. But more than that, you are going to recognize yourself as the cause of it all. The moment you believed, it began. The moment you stopped seeking and started knowing, the bridge was built. Every sign along the way, every little nudge, every coincidence was the universe reminding you, you did this. You called this forth. So when that sign comes again, when something small stirs your spirit and tells you, it's close, don't ignore it. That is the whisper of fulfillment. That is the echo of your own creation answering you back. And even as you wait in stillness, something deep within you already knows that the call is forming, that the message is moving through the invisible channels of life, that the heart you once touched is being stirred by the very feeling you are holding within yourself now. For there is no separation in consciousness, no gap in energy, only one field of awareness in which all things live and move and have their being. And when you impress that field with the tone of love, of understanding, of acceptance, it must return to you in the same frequency. For life can only echo what you have whispered to it in imagination. So keep whispering peace, keep feeling completion, keep knowing that it is already done. For nothing in this universe can resist the magnetic pull of a mind that has accepted its own desire as fulfilled. And though your senses may still show absence, your inner being is already celebrating the arrival, already standing in the scene that the world has not yet caught up to every night before you sleep. Step into that inner world where everything you long for already exists. Walk through the doorway of imagination and meet them there. Not as a stranger, not as someone far away, but as a presence you know familiar and warm. Look into their eyes and feel that wordless understanding that all has been made right, and let that vision be so alive that when you open your eyes in the morning, the outer world feels like the dream, and that imaginal meeting feels like reality, because it is more real than what you call the physical. For the physical is only the shadow of the unseen, and when you dwell persistently in the unseen, it must cast its reflection in matter. It must take on flesh. It must appear as event, message, conversation, reunion. Everything you have inwardly accepted as yours must one day stand before you and confirm that belief. Do and not concern yourself with how it will unfold, for how is never your task. How belongs to the unseen intelligence that orchestrates all movements of life. Your only task is to remain faithful to the end, to hold steady in the feeling of completion, to return again and again to that inner certainty that what you seek is seeking you in this very moment, that the person you think of feels you even now, that there are no walls between souls, no distance between hearts, that are united in thought. And when you dwell in that knowing, something subtle begins to change in your vibration. You begin to carry yourself differently. You speak differently, you breathe differently, because you no longer wait for proof. You embody proof, and when you embody proof, the outer world rushes to confirm it. Sometimes life will test the depth of your faith, not to punish you, but to strengthen you. You may see silence grow deeper, or circumstances that seem contrary to what you have imagined. But this is not failure. This is the rearranging. This is the old dissolving to make room for the new. This is the moment to stand even firmer in your assumption and say within yourself, I know what I have imagined. I know what I have accepted. And no appearance can move me, because appearances are temporary shadows, and I live in the eternal cause. And as you speak that within yourself, the winds will shift. The unseen hand will move the pieces you cannot see. And the silence will turn to sound, and the stillness will turn to motion. And the invisible will show its face as form. You may find yourself suddenly reminded of them without reason. Perhaps their name appears, or you sense a memory out of nowhere. These are not random thoughts. These are waves of consciousness touching across dimensions. A signal that the connection has been made, that the message is preparing its way into form. And when these moments come, don't push them away. Don't say it's coincidence. Smile softly and acknowledge, yes, it is unfolding. I feel it. I know it. For your acknowledgement is the fertilizing of the seed. Your recognition gives power to manifestation. Your awareness keeps the channel open through which the unseen must flow. And when you stay in that quiet confidence, you create an atmosphere around you that magnetizes the right events without effort. There is a vibration to everything. And when your vibration is one of wholeness, of certainty, of peace, everything that resonates with it begins to appear. For the law of life is reflection, not reaction. You do not get what you chase. You get what you are. And when you become the one who has already received, you draw to you the evidence of that state. So stop trying to reach. Stop trying to make it happen, and simply rest in the feeling that it already has, for that rest is faith. And that faith is the doorway through which all things come. When you truly rest in the end, every force in creation begins to serve your assumption. Every circumstance begins to shift in your favor, because the universe recognizes only one language, the language of feeling. And when you feel it done, it hears you perfectly, even if you wake at night and doubt creeps in. Return to your imagination. Don't wrestle with fear. Replace it with vision. Replace it with gratitude. Whisper to yourself, I have already received. And let that feeling fill your whole being until your heart softens, until you can smile again, knowing that the unseen is never late, never careless, never uncertain. It is exact, precise, divine, and it moves according to your inner conviction. So do not be discouraged by time, for time is not delay. Time is fulfillment in motion. Time is simply the means through which eternity unveils itself to your senses. And as you learn to trust that invisible process, you will no longer wait in anxiety. You will wait in peace. You will know that what belongs to you cannot miss you. Your imagination is the workshop of eternity, the sacred space where the unseen becomes seen. And when you use it consciously, deliberately, lovingly, you are in communion with the creative power of life itself. So when you close your eyes tonight, don't pray as one who begs. Pray as one who possesses. Don't ask for what you want. Assume you have it. Feel the joy of the message already received. Feel the warmth of the voice already heard. Feel the relief that says, it all worked out perfectly. And hold that feeling until it feels normal, until it feels as natural as breathing. Because when it feels natural, it has impressed the subconscious, and the subconscious will bring it to pass without resistance. There is a moment before every manifestation where the energy becomes almost still. It is a sacred pause, a quiet before the visible movement, and many mistake that stillness for stagnation. But it is not so. It is the gathering of momentum. It is the drawing together of threads. It is the unseen synchronizing all events necessary for fulfillment. And if you can remain calm in that pause, if you can continue to feel that it is done, even when nothing appears to be moving, you will witness how swiftly the current shifts, how suddenly the evidence appears, because it will seem as though it happened overnight. Yet it was building silently within you all along. When you understand that the outer world is your mirror, you stop fighting reflections. You begin to adjust the source, and the source is always within. So if you desire communication, imagine communication. If you desire understanding, imagine understanding. If you desire love, imagine love. Not as something to come, but as something present, already here, right now. Within your heart, radiating outward, and that inner acceptance will draw its own likeness. The person, the event, the conversation will simply be the embodiment of that vibration, and you will look back and realize that it was never about forcing them to appear. It was about remembering who you are, the imaginal creator of your entire experience. And when that sign comes again, when the whisper of intuition says, "It's close, it's happening," don't dismiss it. Don't talk yourself out of it with reason or fear. Embrace it, nurture it, celebrate it quietly within, because that feeling of knowing is the bridge itself. That intuitive certainty is the evidence of the unseen at work. And if you remain faithful to that feeling, the outer world will deliver the echo soon enough. And when it does, it will feel natural, inevitable, almost ordinary. Because the extraordinary always becomes ordinary once it is realized, and you will smile and remember that it was in the silence, in the unseen, in the imagination that the miracle began, and it was your faith in that invisible whisper that brought it into being. And even now, as you breathe, something within you is already aware of the invisible motion surrounding your desire, the subtle current that carries the message, the thought, the impulse that will bring you into contact again with that person, that soul whose energy still lingers in your awareness. And though you may not see it with your eyes, the vibration of reunion is alive. It is pulsing beneath the surface of all things. It is preparing to break through the shell of appearance. For nothing imagined in love is ever lost, and nothing felt with true conviction can fade away. It only transforms until the outer world is ready to mirror it back to you in perfect rhythm. And that rhythm is divine timing, the silent harmony between your inner acceptance and the world's unfolding response. So rest in the knowing that the moment you felt it real, life began its sacred rearranging. You may be walking through ordinary moments now, daily tasks, quiet nights, fleeting distractions, yet within those moments, life is aligning invisible threads, the right thought, the right word, the right coincidence, perhaps a memory that rises softly when you least expect it, a song that plays with uncanny timing, a dream that feels too vivid to ignore. These are not accidents. They are the signs that the bridge of events has already begun. And each sign is the echo of your imagination, reaching back to remind you that you have been heard, that what you conceived within has been received by the greater consciousness that governs all movement. So when such moments occur, smile gently and continue to walk in calm expectation, because the one who knows it is done has no need to hurry. They live from the end and therefore rest in peace while the world catches up to their vision. Do not be deceived by appearances of delay, for delay is the illusion of time attempting to measure eternity. But eternity cannot be measured. It only unfolds according to the strength of belief. And belief is not something you practice occasionally. It is a continuous atmosphere of being. It is the tone of your inner world, the quiet assumption that guides every thought, every reaction, every breath. So if you wish to hear from someone, begin by becoming the one who has already heard. Feel the message already spoken, the words already read, the emotion already experienced, and carry that feeling into every part of your life until it becomes your natural state, Because once it becomes natural, manifestation is not a question of if, but of when, and when becomes soon. Because reality always mirrors the most dominant state of your consciousness. Every image you hold in imagination plants itself in the fertile soil of the subconscious, and once it takes root, the world must bring forth its likeness. So guard carefully what you entertain within. Speak inwardly of connection, of harmony, of reunion, and refuse to rehearse stories of loss or silence. For the subconscious does not distinguish between what is true and what is vividly felt. It accepts all impressions as instruction. So instruct it with love, with gratitude, with fulfillment, and it will orchestrate every outer scene to deliver exactly that. And when you catch yourself drifting into worry or doubt, do not condemn yourself. Simply return to the inner picture, gently, firmly, lovingly, as you would guide a child back to safety, and remind yourself, it is done, it is finished, it is already mine. And in that repetition, you build the habit of faith. You might notice as you persist in this state that the world begins to change subtly around you. Not because you forced it, but because you have changed the lens through which you perceive it. Suddenly things seem to flow easier. You feel lighter. Coincidences increase. People respond differently, and without realizing it, you have already shifted dimensions. You have moved from the state of waiting to the state of receiving. And in that dimension, the person you have longed to hear from must respond. Not by will, but by law, for consciousness is the only reality. And once you occupy a new state in consciousness, every person and event must correspond to it. So do not concern yourself with their actions or their silence. Concern yourself only with your state. Because your state is the script, your assumption is the director, and your imagination is the stage on which the play of life unfolds. When you truly understand this, you stop trying to change people and start changing the way you see them. For the way you see them is the way they appear. And if you have been seeing them as distant, unavailable, indifferent, then you have been holding them in that role. But if you now choose to see them as loving, receptive, understanding, then you free them from the old pattern and call forth a new version, one that reflects your new inner assumption. And that is the miracle of creation. It is not that you are forcing another to act differently, but that you are awakening within yourself a new vibration that draws forth a matching expression in them. So see them now in your mind's eye as the highest version of themselves, smiling, open, speaking words of warmth and reconciliation, and keep returning to that image until it feels more real than any memory of separation. As you walk through your day, carry that quiet joy within you, the joy of one who knows that everything is unfolding perfectly. And notice how life begins to speak to you through symbols, through timing, through chance encounters, through dreams that feel like messages. For the entire universe is alive, conscious, responsive, and it mirrors your belief in every detail. And the more grateful you are, the faster it mirrors your desire, because gratitude is the signal of completion. It is the feeling of, is done. And when you live in that vibration, you attract nothing but fulfillment. So even before the message arrives, thank life for it. Thank yourself for believing. Thank the unseen for its perfect orchestration. And let that gratitude expand until you no longer feel the absence of anything. Because in truth, nothing is absent. Everything exists now in consciousness. There may come a day soon where you feel an urge to check your phone, or a thought arises that says, reach out, look again, check that place, and in that moment, do not question it, for when you are aligned, action arises naturally. It is not forced, it is inspired. And inspired action never comes from fear, it comes from knowing, and that knowing is gentle, calm, undeniable. And when you follow it, everything unfolds smoothly, so trust the impulses that arise from stillness, ignore the ones that arise from anxiety, because the former is guidance, the latter is grasping, And your task is not to chase the message, but to allow it to arrive in its perfect form. For when you live from the end, you understand that the end will draw you toward it without effort. It will magnetize every path, every moment, every word to fulfill itself, and sometimes before the outer manifestation, the universe will test your emotional steadiness. It will present an illusion that seems to contradict your assumption. Maybe you'll hear something that appears opposite to your desire. Maybe you'll feel doubt again, but this is not a setback. This is the final purification. The moment where you choose between old belief and new knowing. And if you choose the new, the illusion dissolves quickly. Because illusions only persist where belief sustains them. So when fear whispers, answer it not with resistance, but with calm certainty. Smile and say within, it's already done, and then move on, because the one who truly knows has no need to argue with appearances. They walk in quiet confidence, while the world rearranges itself to catch up with their inner conviction. Your imagination is the bridge across every distance. And when you travel it nightly, you draw the other toward you effortlessly, for thought is energy, and energy obeys attention. And when your attention is saturated with love, love must return, sometimes through unexpected routes, through people you didn't anticipate, through words that reach you indirectly, through dreams that foreshadow reality, but it will come, and when it does, it will feel like recognition. Not surprise, because you will remember that you had already lived this moment countless times within, and that remembrance will make you smile quietly, knowing that everything was unfolding perfectly all along, that no delay was wasted, that every silence was preparation, that even the distance was part of the design that led you here, to this moment of realization. So tonight, as you drift into the silence, close your eyes and let all tension melt away. Breathe deeply and enter that sacred space within where imagination speaks more clearly than the senses. See yourself holding the message in your hand. Feel the emotion of reading those words, the warmth, the peace, the reassurance. And stay there until it feels as though you truly have it, not as a wish, but as an experience. And when you open your eyes, carry that feeling into the day. Live as one who already received. Walk as one who already knows. And you will find that everything around you begins to echo that feeling. Because the outer world is nothing more than the crystallized form of your inner belief. And when belief becomes knowing, knowing becomes reality. And reality will soon deliver the sign that you have long awaited. Not to convince you, but to confirm what you have already accepted within yourself as truth. So when that moment finally arrives, when the phone lights up, when the message appears, when the voice you've been hearing in imagination becomes sound in the outer world, do not be shocked. Do not be overwhelmed. Simply smile and remember, this is the echo of my own creation. This is the evidence of faith made visible. You did not wait for this, you became it. You lived it within until the world had no choice but to reflect it back. Every thought, every quiet night of belief, every moment you chose knowing over fear, built the bridge that carried it here. And as you stand in that fulfillment, let it remind you of who you are, not a being hoping for miracles, but the source from which miracles are born. You are not at the mercy of the world. The world is responding to you. You are not waiting for signs. You are the sign. The whisper you once ignored was the universe speaking your own language of creation. The message you now hold is not just from another. It is from your higher self saying, see, I told you it was already done. From this day forward, let that knowing be your foundation. Everything you truly accept within will find its reflection without. Trust the unseen. Live in the end. And never doubt again that your imagination is the voice of God within you, calling everything you desire into being.